guys, and thanks for tuning in to my YouTube channel. This is my first YouTube video ever, so I'm really excited. But I had something on my mind that I really wanted to talk to you about today. I wanted to talk to you about OTS. OTS is Officer Training School, and I wanted to talk to you about the process from going enlisted Air Force to commissioning as an officer in the Air Force. And many of you, if you're already in the military and in the Air Force, you know maybe a little bit about it. And if you're brand new and you are just now thinking about joining the military or joining the Air Force, then this might be completely new to you. So I'm hoping that this video covers topics for both of those categories, either new to the Air Force or you've been in for a while and this is something you're thinking about doing. So OTS stands for Officer Training School. Basically what happens is it's a program to go from enlisted, which is me currently, to commissioning as an officer. The reason it's been in my heart for me to talk to you about this is because last week was my second time applying for the OTS board, and I didn't make it. So I've applied twice and I have not made it twice. And I thought that my package was awesome, that I had everything done, I had every box checked. I thought that, you know, it was one of the better ones and that I would have a pretty good chance of making it. But apparently I didn't. So it was really heartbreaking, and I took it pretty hard even the second time that I didn't make it and found out. So I wanted you to know that you can apply 3 times. And for me, currently, so it's March 2018, the next board for OTS is actually canceled. So I'll be applying again whenever they have another board. The reason that boards can even get canceled is, this one specifically, the Air Force has all of the jobs that they need for the fiscal year or whatever the case may be. So they cancel the board basically because they filled all the spaces. So, but you can apply 3 times back to back. After the 3rd time, you have to wait 1 year, so 12 months, before you apply again. So really, that's a lot of times that you can apply. So don't get too down, don't get too discouraged, and I want to say congratulations to those of you who have made it. If you've actually gotten selected for OTS and you're on your way to commission, that's awesome, and I commend you for that. It is very hard and is super competitive. I wanted to share my personal perspective that I personally believe it is much harder to go enlisted to a commissioned officer versus coming in the Air Force as an officer already. I think there's 2 parts to that. One is because you're having to do this whole package while you're in your current enlisted job, and you're trying to prove yourself that you've been a good airman during your enlistment for them to select you as an officer. Second part of that is education. A lot of people come into the military and into the Air Force without a bachelor's degree. So maybe you're trying to finish that bachelor's degree while you're enlisted in a full-time job, and you have hopes to commission later. So that's really difficult to do and to balance all of those things in your life, right? So in my opinion, I feel like it's easier to go ahead and maybe get that education done before the Air Force, but we all know that that's not always available to many of us, and sometimes that's the reason why we join the military, is for education, right? But I wanted you to know to not give up hope, and that it sometimes takes more than one shot to meet your dreams and to meet your goals, right? So I have to give myself a pep talk and say, you're worth it, you can do it. So I wanted to give you some insight into it and the process and how to go about doing it. So it's super competitive, and in order to apply for OTS, if you're thinking about, say you're brand new to the military, you're thinking about enlisting and staying in an enlisted job and then commissioning later, right? Well, you've got to get into the military first, then you've got to get selected, you know, into your enlisted job. You have to go through tech school, however long that is. Well, basic training first. You have to go through basic training for your enlisted job that you got selected to be in. Then you have to go through the tech school for that job. whatever it is. Then you have to, get to your first duty station, right? After you get to your first duty station, you have to be on station 1 year. So I believe the AFI says you have to be on that station for 1 year before you can even apply for OTS. So say you have your bachelor's degree already, but you're new to the military, you've got to be on your base for a year before you even apply, even if you've got that degree, even if you're a good airman, this, that, and the other. So it's not something that you rush into. It definitely takes time. I applied for my first board a year ago. I'm 5.5 years enlisted in my current career field, so I applied around the 4-year mark was when I had a solid package, my education goals were done, I thought I had a chance at my 4-year mark. So I'm coming up on 6 years and I've applied twice. So around, I'd say averagely around that 4 years, 3 to 4 years is when most of my coworkers are thinking about doing something like this. They're thinking about doing OTS commissioning, and it's partially because if you don't come in with a degree, it can take you about that long to get a bachelor's degree. And that's if you already have classes done. So I want to say, don't get discouraged. You do get that tuition assistance or your GI Bill that you can use while you're enlisted to knock out your education, knock out those classes. There's also a misconception that you have to have a bachelor's degree before applying for OTS, and you don't. You can be 1 year out of applying, or 1 year out of finishing, your bachelor's degree. So you just get your college to give a statement to you saying when you should graduate, and you put that into your package. Now, the package itself that you put in is scored. So it meets a board, and the board is not a face-to-face board like some people think. Not like your BTZ board or your boards that you meet to make rank. It's not like that. It's a paper board. So your package goes before a board of high-ranking officials, and they score your package based on each individual category. So one of those categories is education. So if you don't have that bachelor's degree, you're not going to get full points in that category. So that's something to keep in mind, even though you can apply before you're done. So I just wanted to go over the different things to do leading up to applying to help you with your package. So those things that are scored. So I talked about education is one. Number 2 is you have to take a test called the AFOQT. The AFOQT can be scheduled through your education office. It's free for active duty. Not 100% sure about civilian life, but once you're in, it's free to take that test. It's a lot like the ASVAB, except a lot crazier. So did I say crazy? Because it's crazy. Like, there's ridiculous time frames. It's broken up into different subjects, just like the ASVAB if you had to take that to join the military. Different sections, but think about that, but with a crazy time frame, and probably twice as difficult. So questions are not easy. I would say that the ASVAB questions are somewhat easy or broken up into easier questions. These are not. So you go through different algebra, reading subjects. You have navigation section, a pilot section, quantitative. So they're all broken up. This test is broken up into different sections, and it is super fast, and it's crazy. I took it twice. You can only take the test twice in your whole career, and I took it twice. My scores were right below average. So right now I'm going to read to you the average test scores for the AFOQT. Yeah, the AFOQT. And this was on the feedback from the last board. So these were the average scores in each section. And if you don't know about the test, simple Google search and you'll understand what I'm talking about. So I'm going to briefly touch on this and then we'll move on. So the average scores for the last test, pilot was 60 in that category, navigator 76, academic aptitude 64, verbal 73, quantitative 52. So those were the average of the accepted scores. So if you plan on taking it, just log it up here. You want to be above average. Anyways, you get points on your board for those test scores. So if you're like me and you score a little bit below average, then I've got to make those scores up somewhere else on my package, right? So the next part that's weighted into it is your EPR, so your performance report. So it's really important, guys, when you're enlisted to do really well at your current enlisted job. Don't just give up because you have your eye on the prize, which is maybe commissioning or doing the next thing, that you give up on your current job. So don't do that by any means, because those performance reports go in your packages for this, and they are scored and weighted for that. So work really hard. So you've got your what is it? So I said education, test scores, your EPRs. And then also you have a personal profile that you fill out for this package that tells about yourself, what you've done in your enlistment, different awards that you've gotten. So your rank, time in service does count, deployments, if you do any DSDs or just special duties, all those things are looked at, and that whole little package that's all combined in that, and your personal stuff is weighted as well and scored. I don't really know how they do it, but those are the different components that pretty much go into the package, along with a lot of other things. Your chain of command has to also recommend you. You have to have a letter of recommendation. All of that goes in there. So basically you have to be outstanding at your current job, enlisted, to even apply for this. But it's an awesome opportunity if you get selected. So don't just throw it out the window because you think it's too much work. It's not, it's doable. I wanted to talk about how to apply. So your first step is to go to your education office. So if you're on base, go to your education office. They're the first step. However, they don't walk you through this process at all. So you're on your own. And when I say on your own, you're on your own. So alone. Nobody really knows what to tell you. They basically tell you to go online to the MPF, and I will put below here the steps to follow on the MPF. Now you can't get on there unless you have a CAT card, of course, but there's certain steps you follow, and you download this whole PDF file and you follow those instructions. Basically you're on your own, and they do that for a reason, because, well, you're enlisted, you've been in the military for some time, and you should just know how to do it, right? Right? You should just know how to do it by reading a whole packet of instructions flawlessly. Sounds about right. But yeah, that's exactly how it is. So I would suggest printing out the whole thing, putting it in a binder, reading it like 5 times, and highlighting a bunch of stuff to get it right, honestly. If you don't get every little detail right and exact, they will throw it out, meaning it won't get accepted. It'll come back for corrections, and you don't want that, especially if you're trying to meet a board time and a board date. That time frame is very crucial, and you would hate to mess it up just because of stupid mistakes, because you didn't put something in the right format or you didn't include something the right way. So reading through that entire packet is important. So that's literally how it is you're on your own. The education office gives you the tools to do it. They say these are the opportunities, but you've got to make it happen on your own. You've got to read the whole thing. How do you do this? How do you do that? You won't have anyone holding your hand or walking you through the process. And that's another reason why I say it's a little bit easier to come in as an officer through like ROTC or through a recruiter, because you have someone there that can help you through the paperwork process and what you need to do to get it done. Enlisted life, you really don't, unless you have someone that you personally know that got selected or has done the process and can help you through the whole thing and is willing to help you through the whole thing. So if you have that person in your life, you are blessed, because I had to figure it out, but we did it. And I wanted to talk about some more little facts about how competitive this program is to go from enlisted to commissioning. The average GPA that was selected on the last board, so I'm only going off of the statistics on the last board, I'm not saying overall, the GPA was 3.5, and that was the average. So they probably took a few a little bit lower and some higher than that, but that's the average. So you want to be, if you want to be above average and get all of those points and do better than average, you need to have above a 3.5 GPA on your bachelor's or master's. Just to tell you a little bit about mine, I was done with my bachelor's and I'm 2 classes into my master's when I submitted my last package. So I had all the boxes checked for education. So that's why I'm saying don't get discouraged. Now, that being said, I want to talk about the percentage that was selected on the last board, because it was really low. So don't get your hopes up just because I said, like, oh, I had a bachelor's degree and I was in my master's and I had above a 3.5 GPA and I didn't get selected. That doesn't mean anything. It could be that the jobs that I put down, they didn't have available. It's as simple as that. Really. So it's a matter of chance and luck sometimes. And so that's why you just apply again, right? So the percent selected, I want to talk about that. For OTS is broken up into 2 subjects, and I'll briefly touch on that after this. There's rated and non-rated. So I submitted to a non-rated board, meaning that the jobs available were like finance, personnel, acquisitions, contracting, OSI, which is special investigations, intelligence. I'm trying to think. There was a few more. Those are just like basic jobs that are commissioned jobs, commissioned officer jobs, but they are considered non-rated. Rated jobs on the other side, which is it's the same process. You go through OTS, but your package is a little bit different and some things you have to do are a little bit different. So on your rated side of the program is pilots, and I'll talk about that because I know there's some of you out there who want to be pilots. So just wait. Keep waiting. I'm getting to it. I promise. So pilots, special operations and special tactics officers, engineers, any of your science and maths. So if you've got a chemistry degree or something like that. So those officers are considered rated. And it's a little bit different about that. So non-rated selectees. So if you're thinking about a generic job that is a commissioned officer job, such as intel, contracting, I don't know, something like that you're interested in, there was 829 individuals that applied for this board out of the whole Air Force. 829 people applied, and only 152 of those individuals got selected. So that's a total of 18% selection rate. That's super low, right? So the Air Force kind of goes in waves. It's like sometimes it selects a large percentage, and that's due to the amount of jobs that are open. So if there's a lot of jobs open in the non-rated categories, there'll be a higher percentage rate selected at that board. But there's really no way of telling. So anyways, this last board was really low, and my board before that was pretty low too. So don't get discouraged. You may end up getting lucky and get a board that's a really high selection rate, and then your chances are a little bit better. But just keep in mind that it's very competitive, so you really need to do everything that you can to make your package fire. So I want to talk about the rated. Rated, 181 applicants applied, and 75% of those applicants got selected. So that's a lot. 75% selection rate for rated. So that tells you that the Air Force is looking for those rated jobs that are a little bit maybe, more difficult than the non-rated. You got special tactics, engineers, you've got pilots. So that's what the Air Force needs, right? Right now, apparently on the last board, that's what they needed. So, but of course it's a lot fewer applicants applying for those positions. So I wanted to talk about pilots and OTS for pilots, specifically only for you guys. I did not apply for a pilot, but I do know some of the processes. I had some coworkers that were applying to be pilots. They had to go through the whole process, and we worked together and talked together. So that's where my information is coming from. And by all means, you may have been told something different, or maybe you did something different in your application, but just bear with me. It's just an overview. So medical, on the medical side, pilots that go into your package, you do have to pass a flight physical. So that flight physical is part of your package. You have to do that. So meaning if you have any kind of like medical issues restraining you from that, maybe like eyesight issues or something like that, you do have to pass that flight physical. The other part is the AFOQT part. The test is different. You have another component to the test that you have to take that involves some pilot stuff. I think not an ABM score, but there's another portion that tests you solely on some pilot information like navigation and stuff like that. And you can simply get all that study material online, but your test is a little bit different from the rest of ours that you have to take. So anyways, with that, that is also very competitive. They want you to be smart and this, that, or the other. You can apply to be a pilot with any bachelor's degree. So as long as, you have a decent GPA, because keep in mind it's still competitive, but you can have any bachelor's degree and get selected for that job. The non-rated positions, such as the ones I applied for, your bachelor's degree generally needs to match the job you're applying for. For example, if you have a business degree or a finance degree, you should be applying for, like, I say should be, but typically those match up with finance officers, contracting, acquisitions, logistics and readiness, things like that. There are some jobs that are non-rated that are open general to like any degree. So say you have a history degree, a history bachelor's degree, or something generic like that, you can still apply for things like OSI, special investigations. You can apply for intelligence, I think, and there's quite a few other ones that you can apply for that say next to the job general bachelor's degree. Anyways, so I think that I covered everything. Like I said, your first step is your education office. I'm looking at my paper now because I'm thinking, did I miss anything? I will put on the link down below the SharePoint exactly how to get to the application profile and how to get to the SharePoint. If you apply, this is the last thing I wanted to touch on. If you're applying for the boards, make sure that you join the Facebook page that's specific for your board that you're applying for. Now, you don't have to, but it's a phenomenal support group. So I did throughout my process, and I felt like I was not alone. People go on there, they ask questions, they answer questions, you could read posts, you can get in contact with other people that are applying. You can exchange emails and personally send each other your packages so that you can learn from someone else how they did it, or what was better, or what you need to work on. So that support system is great, especially if the first time I applied, I really didn't know about it and I didn't utilize it. The second time I really did, and I really felt like I wasn't alone, and I felt supported. I felt like, this past time I got on there, and it's like a lot of other people are like, I didn't get selected either, but congratulations. And then other people that did get selected were like, hey, this is my training date. Oh, you have the same job as me. Oh, we can meet, we can be friends. So it's kind of a cool little support group there. So make sure you check those out. They are private groups, so you have to have applied for that board, and then you have to get selected by the group owner of that site. But do it. I didn't know about it, so there's really no secrets to it. To be honest, you're left in the dark for a lot of things, but I just want you to know that you're not alone. And if you're just now joining the Air Force and it's something that you want to do later on, keep your eye on that prize, but make sure that you're doing everything in between now and applying that sets you up for success. Don't, work hard at your job, get through tech school, get through basic training, do your best and absolute best to set yourself up for that. Start taking classes right away, get your bachelor's degree done, knocked out. Go to your education office. Now, there are a ton of programs for commissioning as an officer, and I only just now talked about OTS. So keep that in mind. There's a lot. So I didn't even talk about any of the medical jobs, did I? Nursing, med school, MSc. Those are all options. So I didn't talk about any of those at all, and I currently work in the medical field. So anyways, maybe we'll get to that in another video. Please comment on any questions that you might have. I'll try my best to answer them. Also, comment on any videos that you would like to see if you want me to go more in depth about something in this process that you think would be beneficial to all of you. then I will do another video on that, because I don't want you to feel alone. I want you to know that there's someone that can help you through the whole process of it. Even though I didn't get selected, I will be your best cheerleader. And also, please subscribe, because I'm going to post more videos and they're going to be awesome, and a bunch of stuff that you need to know, want to know, whatever. So stay tuned and subscribe.